The worst part of running your own business is having to find and manage clients all by yourself. And when the client sucks, well, you have to grit your teeth and power through because, well, they're keeping the lights on, right? But what if I told you there's a strategy to land your dream client every single time? Today, I'm going to tell you what that strategy is, how to apply it, and how it's made my client relationships easier than ever. My name is Gabriel Ryan, and I help entrepreneurs get more leads and clients from their website. So let's go ahead and dive into my dream client catcher framework. I actually stumbled onto this framework without even knowing it about 10 years ago when I was serving as an account services director for a digital marketing agency. We worked in the financial publishing space, so think stock newsletters, trading educators, teaching you how to buy stocks and options and those kind of things. And we basically sold leads to those companies. So if they had a newsletter and they wanted more email subscribers, we'd sell them those leads. If they had a sales team where they were selling a high ticket program, teaching how to trade stocks or options or biotech, something like that, we'd sell them those leads as well. So I'm walking the trade show floor when my boss, our CEO, says, "Hey, Gabriel, if you can get that client over there, I'll give you a $5,000 bonus." This particular client that he was talking about was one of the few booths that had a sea of people at it. A lot of these other booths, it was like crickets. But this particular company, and specifically this guy, had a sea of people around him. He had the attention of his market. We had seen his ads on Facebook. We liked the marketing that he was already putting out there. He was actually already doing a good job at the same thing that we would offer him. Turns out it was actually one of the easiest sales that I ever made. So I kind of made my way through the crowd to the front of the table, quickly introduced myself and said, "Hey, I don't want to take any time away from your time with your people here, but I would love to follow up after the trade show." He wrote down his email on a little piece of paper and handed it over to me. To be honest, initially I thought it was a fake email because it seemed too easy. But so I took that little piece of paper. The very next day, I emailed Jeff, and sure enough, we got a meeting on the calendar and a $10,000 test just like that. One of the easiest sales that I ever made. And what Jeff didn't realize he was teaching me in that very moment was the Dream Client Catcher Framework. Want to know what it is so you can put it to work in your business? All right, let's dive in. Chances are you've probably already heard of marketing avatars or marketing personas, or maybe an ICP or ideal customer profile. And that's exactly where we're going to start with this Dream Client Catcher Framework. And that is coming up with a persona of your dream client. If you're going to want to attract them, you got to know what they look like to start with. So you want to sit down and come up with some imaginary yet realistic traits of your dream client, the demographics, the specific things that you could actually describe about a particular client. You know, the industry that they're in, the size, what it is that they offer and serve. You know, do they sell with a sales team, or do they sell with webinars or with an e-commerce platform digitally? Then you also want to describe the psychographics, or the way that the customer thinks. What is their persona? You know, you can look at two different companies, Red Bull and Monster, and they have very different personas, though they both sell the same thing, energy drinks. Compare that to yet another company like Celsius, and it's a completely different brand all in and of itself. When you're outlining this persona, don't make it about the kind of things that you want or the way that you think. Put yourself in the shoes of your ideal client. Jeff actually really helped me learn this when I looked back after he had become a client, and I realized, oh, there are some traits that Jeff had specifically. He already had an audience of folks that were interested in what he had to offer. They were clamoring for his offer, for his products and services. He actually already had good marketing, which meant it was going to make our job a lot easier as marketers to help him get leads. And because he had that existing client flow, it also meant he had budget, which is why it was super easy for him to say yes to a $10,000 test, having just met me a few days before for a 30-second interaction on the trade show floor. And I actually learned this lesson really early on in my sales career when I was selling shoes at Nordstrom. When somebody came in and asked for a specific pair of shoes, you would obviously go and fetch that pair of shoes in the right size and bring them out to the customer. But one of the things that Nordstrom would teach us is that you actually had to bring at least 4 shoes out, and not just 4 of the same kind of shoe, but 4 different shoes. So if someone came in asking for a sneaker, you might bring them an example of a dress shoe as well, or a slipper, or a couple of different kinds of athletic shoes. And I'll never forget the day that this guy walked in, average dress, kind of disheveled looking, jeans that really didn't fit that great, and he was asking for a pair of New Balance. They were $49 shoes. They were one of our best-selling shoes, but also one of the cheapest on the shelf. If I had just brought those out to him, you know, I'm gonna make 10% commission. I'm gonna make like $4 off of selling this pair of shoes. We'll get them in and out and on to the next customer. But what did I do? I followed the protocol. I followed the process and I went and I grabbed a couple of other pairs of shoes. Turns out this guy was a professional hockey player for the NHL. Now, if he was in the MLB or the NFL, I probably would have recognized him, but I didn't know who this guy was, so I was judging him based upon the thing that he was asking me for, a $49 pair of shoes. I brought out a couple $400 pair of dress shoes, and sure enough, he ended up walking out with over $1,200 in shoes. So instead of a $4 commission, I made a $120 commission with about 30 minutes of work. In that moment, I realized not to prejudge and not to think of my ideal client in terms of what I'd be willing to do or what I'd be willing to spend my money on or the way that I like to buy. I want you to be very specific. Now, chances are the products and services that you offer cover a wide range of clients and you help all different kinds of people. But with this particular exercise, I want you to think of one specific person. Then just go ahead and start writing as if you were describing this individual to a new team member. Hey, I want to introduce you to our best client. His name is, give him the name. He's this many years old. This is what he does. This is what he cares about. This is actually how he came to become a client of ours. Just go ahead and write this whole thing out. Now, you want to know a cheat code for this? Base it off of your best client now. For me, that was Jeff. And after interacting and working with Jeff, literally write down all of the key pieces about Jeff and working with him that made it an absolute dream scenario. Now, here's where you turn your regular old marketing avatar or ideal customer profile into a dream client catcher. And there's 3 things that you need. And the reason these 3 things are so important is because it's going to help you know where to go and find these people. And also it's going to help you spot them in the crowd. All right, so the first of these 3 things is personality type. I want you to imagine the kind of person that your ideal client is. Are they super detailed and organized? Or if they become too detail oriented, do they start kind of micromanaging you? Maybe it's a good thing, maybe it's not, depending on the products and services that you offer. So what's their personality type? I can tell you from my experience working with Jeff, he was casual, he was a good communicator, and he was decisive and a quick action taker. He wasn't going to take a long time to make a decision, which we really liked. The second part is, how do they make decisions? This gets back into the psychographics of things. Now, I've got a framework I call the 3 closes. And regardless of the personality type of your ideal client, you're going to need to address the 3 closes in any sales conversation. The first is you're gonna have to sell them on your model, the way that you deliver what you deliver. For example, let's say you're a fitness instructor. On one hand, you could be a yoga or a Pilates instructor. On the other hand, you could be a CrossFit instructor. Those 2 models are very different to try to achieve maybe a similar type of goal. So the first thing you're gonna have to do is sell them on your model. The second thing you're gonna need to sell them on is you. You got to sell them on you being the person to deliver the goods, the products, the services that you're making your promise with in your marketing. You know, you've probably heard the saying, never trust a skinny chef. You want to know that the person that's delivering the goods is going to be able to deliver the goods. And third, and probably the most important of the 3 closes, you've got to sell them on themselves, their ability to actually get the value, to get the results from what it is that you're having to offer. By working with Jeff, I was able to realize that there were people out there, there were prospects out there that already had made a decision about what they were willing to do to test with their marketing. In Jeff's case, he was willing to test $10,000 to see if that was going to work or not. Whereas others wouldn't even spend $10 unless they were absolutely sure they were going to get a result. So the first area that you want to add detail to your dream client catcher is going to be the personality type. The second piece is their decision-making process. What's important to them when they are making that decision about whether or not to hire you or buy from you? What's that process look like for them? And then third, and probably most importantly, where do they spend their time? What events do they go to? What trade shows? What Facebook groups? Who do they follow online? What books are they reading? What podcasts do they listen to? You have to know where your ideal client spends their time and where they spend their attention. So the question then becomes, how do I find all this information? Well, there's really 2 ways to do it. One, if you already have clients like this, or even just a couple, or even just one that you've worked with in the past that would be a dream client for you to duplicate as many times as you possibly can, go ahead and talk to that client. Check them out on social media and see who they follow and what they listen to and what they're posting about. My second favorite way is to use AI, and I actually talk about it in this video. I'll probably pop a link right here, but you can actually start to build out that persona of your ideal client. Give them a name. Hey, my ideal client's name is Ashley, and she's 32 years old, and she's a stay-at-home mom, and she wants to focus on her health and nutrition. You can start to build out that persona and then literally give that persona to an AI using something like ChatGPT. Again, check out the video. I go into more detail about how you can do this using AI, but essentially you're going to have the AI become that persona. You can ask it questions and then have it fill you in on some of these things that you may not know the answers to, just as if you were to have a real conversation with a real Ashley. So if you want to attract more of these kinds of dream clients, you need to build your dream client catcher. Go ahead and fill out that profile, that persona, and don't limit yourself to just one, because this will evolve over time. After doing this kind of work now for over a decade, I can tell you that my client relationships are better than ever. They're more profitable than ever. Many of my clients have become good friends because their needs align with what our business offers them. And I just genuinely enjoy spending time and serving them. And so I'm excited for you to experience the same thing, to be able to grow your business, to get more leads and customers from your website. Hey, look, if you need any help with any of that stuff, just go ahead and smash the like button, hit subscribe and follow so you can get more of our videos, more content that's coming out. And make sure to subscribe to my newsletter. Just head over to the link in the description. Every single week, I send out a new playbook, a new training, a new free strategy. I'm giving all my best stuff away for free. My goal is that it serves you and hopefully helps you grow your business. And then shoot, maybe one day, if you end up being a dream client, we can work together as well. We'll see you in the next video.